A linen dresser, 100 times covered with cheap, smelly varnish for beauty, it shimmered like a shiny 80s sweat. Once, when the floor was painted in dirty red, a strip remained at the base of the dresser, and in order to somehow smooth out the embarrassment that had happened, the entire bottom was generously circled with the same paint. Inside the dresser there was always trash, out of sight, out of mind. Things were sent to a dusty wooden black hole, like on a last journey with Charon, carrying the souls of the dead to the kingdom of shadows. Former treasures hidden behind the door turned into shadows too. The old Soviet Zenit camera, socket adapters, artificial carnations, everything that once had a proud name of modern. There was a niche at the top of the dresser. This was a scene, and a black unpredictable emptiness that hid boxes with bottoms, beads and old-fashioned accessories, shells and a set of discharged batteries. In the upper box lived eye shadows, powder, mascara and brushes, lipstick and old perfume white lilac, a hit of the Soviet 50s. All this wealth was interred there for years, so still it's worth opening the box, and the aroma of a youth that has faded before the time breaks out. After I left home, my belongings were also put into the dresser. The new world of the 90s came and took his place. There were ridiculous CDs which seemed to hang between two eras. They are not old enough to gain the added value of vinyl and not new enough to compete with the age of YouTube. There were also Kinder Surprise toys, dolls, brushes and watercolors, my children's poems and sticker albums went there. One time a year, during the general cleaning action, the collection of the family unconscious piece by piece was taken out from the dresser into the light, examined with dismissive frugality, and then put back again. Each time only one thing was thrown out, and this ritual sacrifice was worth the same effort as the splitting of the atomic nucleus. Maybe that's why in childhood it seemed to me that the contents of this dresser were magical and bewitched, and it attracted me to an unknown and mysterious world in which all these things lost their places and acquired a figurative meaning. The magic was that all these objects began to live their own lives and tell completely different, unforeseen stories. Dust settled in the petals of the artificial carnations which had once deceived guests, and pale pink pieces of silk gently covered dust how a blanket. Where the illusion of life was supposed to be, death and oblivion settled. For some reason, even as a child, I understood that in front of me are treasures, fragments of the past, never land. But no matter how many times I opened the door to the secret kingdom, I never heard stories about my mom, who forgot about powder and mascara early, nor about the grandfather who sailed across the Pacific Ocean and brought the fan from the Chinese market, neither about Soviet fists in the well-fed 60s. Once owner turned away, things immediately declare independence and refuse to serve as anchors for family memories. The struggle for sterility and freedom from context is doomed to failure. But the most amazing thing is that in spite of everything, Dresser has remained with us, because to get rid of it means to push out the repressed chaos into our lives. My family needs this dresser to keep behind 7 seals the stories and context that forgotten things can tell random guests. Many years have passed. General cleanings became history as well as childhood's illusions. I was sitting in my old room, and suddenly I realized that I had been staring at the dresser for several minutes. Everything was familiar. A florid K head, narrow handles, a simple carved pattern on the edges of niche, a red stripe at the base, an old varnish. And suddenly, how could one be so blind and not notice anything? This is an old German dresser, a simple but Art Nouveau style, beginning of the 20th century. That's why it stood out so much against the background of our Soviet chiffoniers. That's why it was persistently covered with varnish, so as not to stand out. It will not catch the eyes against the background of polished Soviet furniture. And a strip of oil paint is also an attempt to appropriate the only one valuable thing in the apartment, so that these graceful forms do not hurt the eyes. So that's why it, a stranger from birth, was turned into a symmetry of things, because its world, the world of Art Nouveau and Königsberg, old postcards and book plates, has long died, and the dresser, accidentally brought into our life as a war trophy, remained to live like a stray. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. My family did nothing unusual. First, the German dresser was sentenced. Then, pieces of the Soviet past and things from my childhood went in an unnamed eternity. An attempt to sterilize an apartment from the past, to allocate an inconspicuous place in a corner to it, and an attempt to sterilize the city, to sterilize the earth itself, to dig up, destroy, and bury again, and if it's impossible to destroy, then disfigure it so that nobody can recognize it. Things also refuse to tell the stories imposed on them. Things lose their destiny and then names to enter the cycle of incredible transformations and transmigration of souls. As I filmed my video, I really lost an object. The small bottle of perfume. I took it out of the trash. My mom just threw it away, but I wanted to preserve the memory, at least the bottle of perfume, as a part of the lost treasures from the secret box of my childhood. I covered it with a leaf litter. I was frozen and distracted, and after filming, I forgotten it there, on the ground. When, a few days later, I discovered the loss, I returned in the secret hope that, away from the path, hidden from eyes, the bottle was still there. But it wasn't. This is the impossibility of memory, the impossibility of preserving and retaining. We are destroying and enslaving our past, but things are also glad to erase our names from granite gravestones of the history, as if with a tired hand, in order to finally tell any other story, in order to become everything and nothing.